Welcome back to the QuickBooks Wizard. I'm Brian Cogan, your guide through the chaos of small business bookkeeping. Today, we're tackling one of the ugliest, oldest monsters in small business life, the shoebox full of receipts. Now, if you've ever ended the year with paper shoved in drawers, crumpled in your car, or dumped into a shoebox, this episode is for you. Receipts may look harmless, but they can cause big problems. Let's turn that chaos into clarity.
Ah, apprentice, you've returned to the tower, parchment fluttering from your satchel. Fear not, for with Brian's wisdom even the wildest receipts shall bow to order. He has walked the bookkeeping path for over 20 years, guiding merchants through storms of numbers and audits alike. Stay, for this is a tale worth hearing.
Receipts aren't just paper, they're proof. Proof of what you spent, proof of what you can deduct, proof of what you'll need when the IRS comes calling. And yes, they do come calling. Maybe not this year, maybe not next, but when they do, those little slips of paper are the first thing they ask about. Now here's the reality. Most business owners don't treat receipts like proof. They treat them like scraps. I've seen receipts stuffed into glove boxes, shoved into desk drawers, folded into wallets. One client used one as a coffee coaster. By the time it reached me, all that was left was a brown ring. Another used them as scratch paper. She wrote down phone numbers and grocery lists on the back. So when tax time came, it looked like a stack of doodles instead of proof of purchases. And of course, there's the shoebox, the infamous shoebox. At least once a year, somebody sits one on my desk, proud as can be, and says, "Here you go. I've been saving everything." They think it's treasure, but when we open it, chaos, faded slips, torn corners, thermal paper turned black, some uneven receipts, their coupons, expired gift cards, even sticky notes mixed in. By then, it's less bookkeeping and more archaeology. I had a contractor once who swore he kept everything, and technically, he did, by cramming them all into his truck's glove box. By December, he had slammed the door with his shoulder just to keep it closed. When he opened it, receipts poured out like confetti. We laughed, but then reality hit. Now we had to make sense of the mountain. It took hours just to sort them into piles, and many were unreadable. Another client, a restaurant owner, thought she was covered because she had neat stacks of bank statements. When the IRS came, those weren't enough. Statements showed money went to food supplier, but not what was bought. Without itemized receipts, half her deductions were disallowed. She lost thousands in 1 year, not because she didn't spend the money, but because she couldn't prove it the right way. And then there's the Amazon problem. I had a shop owner who mixed personal and business. One receipt was for toner, the next for sneakers, the next for groceries, all charged to the same card, all under Amazon. Without clear receipts and categories, the IRS threw out the whole batch. They said, if you can't separate them, you don't get to deduct them. Let me pause here and underline something. The IRS doesn't care about your system. They care about proof. You can call your shoebox a filing system if you want, but if the ink is faded or the details are missing, it's worthless. They want to see who you paid, when you paid them, what it was for. Bank statements don't show that. Calendar notes don't show that. Only receipts do. And the rules are strict. For most expenses, the IRS expects you to keep documentation for at least 7 years. That's not me being picky. That's the law. So if your receipts are fading in the sun on your car's dashboard or curling up at the bottom of a shoebox, you're not really meeting a standard. Here's the danger. The problem isn't clutter. It's risk. Missing receipts mean money gone. Faded slips mean deductions denied. No record means no defense. And if you think the IRS is going to give you the benefit of the doubt, think again. Their job is to question. Your job is to prove. But it's not just financial risk. It's emotional cost. Every time you walk past that pile on your desk, you feel it. that nagging thought, I should deal with that. Every time you open the drawer and see crumpled receipts mixed with takeout menus, it's another weight on your shoulders. And the longer you put it off, the heavier it feels. One business owner told me, Brian, I dread tax season all year because I know the receipts are waiting. Think about that. The dread didn't come from the taxes. It came from a pile of paper. That's what a bad system does. It robs you of peace of mind. So let me ask you, where are your receipts right now? Picture them. Are they in a system? Scanned and saved, easy to find? Or are they scattered across your car, your wallet, your office, waiting in a shoebox monster that's growing stronger every day? Because here's the truth. Receipts are either working for you or they're working against you. There's no in between. And every day you delay is another day you're feeding the monster.
Ah, apprentice, many a merchant has fallen not from lack of gold, but lack of proof. Guard thy receipts, and no auditor shall strike thee unprepared.
Now that we've seen what happens when receipts pile up, let's talk about the first step in defeating the shoebox monster, digital capture. This is the foundation of modern bookkeeping. The goal is simple. Don't let paper pile up. Don't give the monster any food. Instead, turn every receipt into a digital copy the moment you get it. Here's the thing. Paper receipts were never designed to last. They're printed on thermal paper, which is heat sensitive. Leave it in your car on a hot day, especially here in Phoenix. It fades. Toss it in your pocket. It crinkles into something unreadable. I can't tell you how many times I've been handed a stack of receipts that look more like blank index cards. One client once brought me a sandwich receipt where the ink had vanished so completely that we literally had to go online and request a copy from the sandwich shop. That was one receipt. Now imagine doing that for hundreds. Another time, I had a client who did catering. She was always on the move, buying ingredients at wholesale clubs, farmers markets, and restaurant supply stores. She'd throw the receipts into her purse and tell me, don't worry, I'll give them to you later. When later came, those receipts looked like ghosts. The cashier's ink had simply disappeared. And unfortunately, the IRS doesn't accept ghost receipts. So how do you win? With a 5-second habit. Snap, then toss. QuickBooks makes this easy. Open the app, snap a photo, and the system pulls the vendor name, the date, the amount. Sometimes it even guesses the category for you. And if you connect your bank account, QuickBooks will match the photo to the transaction. It's like magic, except it's just really smart technology. You don't need a scanner. You don't need to wait until you're back at your desk. The phone in your pocket is enough. Think about it. If you're grabbing coffee with a client, the second that receipt hits your hand, pull out your phone, take a picture, and toss it. That one moment saves you from having to dig through stacks later, wondering if that 8:37 at Starbucks was business or personal. Here's where I want you to pause. Picture your last week. How many receipts came into your life? Gas station stops, a hardware run, maybe a client lunch? Now imagine the IRS asks you 6 months from now, what was the $42 charge for? If all you've got is a bank statement that says Amazon, you're stuck. But if you took those 5 seconds, snapped the receipt, and told QuickBooks what it was, suddenly you're covered. And let me add this, the IRS has very specific guidelines. They want to see receipts that show the vendor, the date, the amount, and the business purpose. A bank statement alone doesn't cut it. A calendar note, not enough. Only the receipt tells the full story. And you're required to keep that proof for years, 7 years in many cases. Paper fades. Files in the cloud do not. So don't overthink it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Build the muscle. Snap the receipt before you even leave the counter. Attach it in QuickBooks, then let the paper go. You'll thank yourself in April, and you'll sleep easier knowing that you're not feeding that shoebox monster anymore.
Lo, apprentice, the first strike hath been made. With every captured slip thou dost weaken the monster's hold. No longer shall it creep unseen in drawer or glove-box, nor shall faded ink steal thy gold. Each parchment seized is a stone in the fortress of order, a shield against the fiery breath of audit and doubt. Yet mark this well. The true victory lies not in the hoarding of scraps, but in the steady weaving of order from chaos.
Capturing receipts is step one, but if you stop there, you're only halfway to victory. To really win against the Shoebox Monster, you need step two, categorizing and attaching them. Snapping is good, but snapping without context is like tossing puzzle pieces in a box with no picture on the lid. The pieces are all there, but when you dump them out later, you'll have no idea what goes where. The IRS doesn't care that you bought something. They care what it was, why it was necessary, and whether it was for your business. Let me give you an example. A hairstylist I work with would buy supplies constantly. Combs, scissors, shampoos, dyes, all legitimate business expenses, but she also grabbed groceries and household cleaners on the same trip. At the end of the year, her bank statement just said Walmart. She couldn't separate what was for the salon and what was for her kitchen. The IRS disallowed a good portion because there was no clear trail. She had the proof in her hands at one point, but without categorizing and attaching it, the proof evaporated. Now let's look at the flip side. I had a landscaper who started out the same way. Receipts everywhere, nothing labeled. But one year he changed his approach. Every time he snapped a receipt, he opened QuickBooks and tapped the category. Fuel, repairs, plants, tools. It became second nature. At year end, instead of dumping a pile on me, he opened his QuickBooks and everything was sorted. The bank charges matched the receipts were attached to the transactions, and the categories lined up with the tax return. His tax prep bill was smaller, his deductions were larger, and the first time in years he said, I'm not dreading this anymore. That's the power of categorizing as you go. I call it the 30-second rule. Take 30 seconds now, save 30 minutes or even hours later. It's not just about convenience, it's about accuracy. Categorization is what turns random spending into a clear financial story. Let's say you spend $200 at an office supply store. Was it truly office supplies, or was part of it equipment? Or maybe you grabbed snacks for a staff meeting. Each of those categories has different tax rules. Some are 100% deductible, some only 50%, some not at all. If you just lump them all under office supplies, you might miss deductions, or worse, you might overclaim and set off an audit flag. Here's another story. A nonprofit leader I worked with was diligent about saving receipts, but didn't categorize them. At year end, we had to manually sort hundreds of charges. Which were program expenses? Which were fundraising? Which were admin? It mattered because nonprofits have strict reporting requirements. That missing categorization meant weeks of extra work and stress that could have been avoided with a few seconds of attention along the way. Now QuickBooks helps you here. Once you categorize a vendor, it often remembers. If you uh, tag Shell gas station as fuel once, next time QuickBooks will suggest the same. That's like having a magical assistant who whispers, apprentice, thou hast bought fuel again. You still have to confirm, but most of the heavy lifting is done for you. And here's the real magic, attaching the receipt. When you snap it in QuickBooks, it doesn't just sit in a random folder on your phone. It attaches to the actual transaction. That way, when an IRS agent or your accountant clicks the $42 gas charge, the receipt is right there. No hunting, no digging, no explaining. Think about your own business for a moment. How many charges could you defend tomorrow if you had to? If the IRS walked in and pointed to a line on your statement, could you pull up the receipt and explain the business purpose? Or would you be guessing, saying, I think that was for a client maybe. This is where categorization saves you. It removes the guessing, it builds confidence, and it keeps the shoebox monster from coming back. One more story. I had a client who ran a mobile pet grooming service. Every week she bought shampoos, treats, cleaning supplies, and fuel. For years, she just threw receipts in her van and hoped for the best. Finally, she started snapping and categorizing. At tax time, not only was everything in order, but she could also see her spending patterns. She realized she was overspending on certain products and found a wholesaler that cut her costs in half. Categorizing, categorizing didn't just protect her in an audit, it helped her run a smarter business. That's what I want you to hear. Categorization isn't busy work. It's clarity. It's telling the story of your business in real time. And when your story is clear, your decisions improve, your stress shrinks, and your profits grow. So let me pause and ask you, what's the weakest link in your system right now? Is it the Amazon orders, the fuel receipts, the business lunches you forgot to label? Imagine a world where every single one of those has a category attached and a receipt stored safely. No shoebox, no duffel bag, just order. That's the world you're building when you take 30 seconds today. That's the shield you're forging against the shoebox monster. And it's a shield that will protect not just your money, but your peace of mind.
To name a thing is to bind it, apprentice. A charge unmarked is as slippery as shadow, but a charge named is tamed, leashed, and loyal. Thus must thou not only seize receipts, but call them by their purpose, meal, supply, travel, wage. For only then shall thy ledger speak truth, and only then shalt thou command the tale of thy trade. Waste not thy chance to speak order into thy scrolls, and thy numbers shall march in harmony like soldiers under one banner.
Step 3 in defeating the shoebox monster is this. Go paperless. Now I know what you're thinking. Brian, are you telling me to throw away the originals? Yes. Once you've snapped and attached that receipt in QuickBooks or saved it clearly in a secure digital folder, you can let the paper go. Recycle it. Clear the clutter. Here's why. The IRS accepts digital copies as official proof. That's not a rumor. That's written in their documentation. The requirement is simple. The record must be accurate, legible, and accessible. They don't care if it's ink on paper or pixels on a screen. What they care about is whether you can prove the transaction happened, when, where, and for what purpose. Let me tell you about another salon owner I worked with. She kept every single paper receipt for 7 years. She had banker's boxes stacked in her garage, labeled by year. It looked organized on the outside, but when we cracked open a box from year 5, the receipts were faded beyond recognition. Heat, time, and cheap paper had erased the proof. She had done the hard work of saving them, but not the smart work of preserving them. Now let's look at the opposite example. I had a consultant who traveled constantly. Every meal, every hotel, every supply run, she snapped it into QuickBooks. Receipts were stored in the cloud, matched to transactions, searchable by keyword. When she got audited, she didn't panic. She pulled up her laptop, typed client dinner, and there it was, a crisp, clear receipt tied to a bank charge with notes about who she met. The IRS agent had no questions left to ask. She walked out confident and calm. That's the difference between paper chaos and digital clarity. One is a garage full of boxes. The other is a search bar. One leaves you sweating, digging, second guessing. The other leaves you free to focus on your business. And there's a bonus. Going paperless doesn't just protect you in an audit, it helps you run smarter. One of my clients, a photographer, realized through her digital receipts that she was overspending on duplicate subscriptions. 2 different photo editing services, both billed monthly. She canceled one and saved over $1,200 a year. She never responded at flipping through paper. Here's another example. A food truck owner I worked with used to keep shoe boxes in the back of the truck. By December, grease and heat had destroyed half of them. When he switched to snapping receipts digitally, he not only kept his deductions safe, he discovered exactly how much he was spending on propane, which let him negotiate a bulk deal and save hundreds each month. The system gave him insight he never would have had from faded scraps. Now pause with me for a second. Picture your own setup. Where do your old receipts live? In a drawer? In a folder you haven't opened in months? Or maybe stacked in piles that make you sigh every time you walk by? Now imagine tossing those piles in the recycling bin, knowing you're still covered. Imagine walking into your office and seeing a clean desk, knowing everything you need is already attached in QuickBooks. That's what paperless gives you. It also gives you something else, confidence. When the IRS sends a letter, or even just when tax season rolls around, most business owners feel fear. They don't know what they'll find when they open the box or drawer. But if your receipts are digital, you don't guess, you know. You type a keyword, you click, and you have proof. That changes everything. And here's the truth. 7 years of receipts is heavy. 7 years of digital records fit in your pocket. That's not just smart bookkeeping, that's freedom. Now, let me underline something important. Going paperless doesn't mean going careless. You'll still need to go back things up. QuickBooks stores receipts in the cloud, but I encourage clients to also back up critical documents in a second secure location, like Google Drive, Dropbox, or even an external hard drive. Think of it as building two walls around your fortress. And you don't have to digitize everything overnight. Start today with the very next receipt you get. Build the habit forward. The old stacks can wait. They're not going anywhere. But every new receipt, snap it, attach it, recycle it. That's how you turn the tide. One last story before we move on. I had a nonprofit treasurer who was terrified of letting go of paper. She said, Brian, what if the system crashes? What if the cloud disappears? I asked her, how many times have you lost a paper receipt? She laughed because the answer was all the time. She had boxes ruined by a leak, envelopes thrown out by mistake, piles lost in a move. The truth is, paper's fragile. Digital, when backed up, is safer. Once she made the switch, her stress dropped dramatically. So let me ask you, what's the real reason you're holding on to paper? Habit? Fear? A sense that real proof has to be physical? It doesn't. Real proof is whatever you can present clearly and confidently when asked. And in today's world, that means digital. So here's your assignment. The next time you get a receipt, don't just toss it in a drawer. Snap it, attach it, and recycle it. Do that once, then again, then again. Before long, the piles will vanish. The monster will shrink, and you'll wonder why you ever carried all that weight in the first place. Because once you go paperless, you won't go back.
Behold, apprentice, the scrolls of thine trade, preserved in light, untorn by time, untouched by flame. Once they would have withered, ink fading like breath upon glass. But now, secured in cloud and crystal, they endure as strongholds. When the auditors march upon thy gates, thou shalt present them with truth unblemished, and they shall depart confounded. So is it written, He who keeps records in order shall not fear the summons of kings, nor the scrutiny of collectors, for proof is ever his companion.
All right, apprentice, let's land the ship. You've heard me talk about the Shoebox Monster, about the faded ink, the missing proof, the stress that creeps in when receipts pile up. You've heard how digital capture and smart categorizing can turn your financial chaos into a system that actually serves you. So let's put it into practice. I'm going to walk you through a simple 3-part checklist you can start using right away. Not next quarter, not when you finally have a slow day, right now. Step 1, snap it. Every single time you get a receipt, take 5 seconds, grab your phone, open QuickBooks and snap a photo. That's it, 5 seconds. If you wait, the ink fades, the paper gets lost, or worse, it never makes it into your books at all. But if you snap it right then, the monster goes hungry. Now here's the beauty of this. QuickBooks doesn't just store that photo in some folder you'll never find again. It reads it. It recognizes the vendor, the amount, even the date. It's like having a bookkeeper apprentice of your own, except this one doesn't take weekends off. Step 2, categorize it. This is where you put the expense where it belongs. Gas is travel. Meals with a client are 50% deductible. Office supplies are fully deductible. A new iPad for your design work, that's equipment. QuickBooks will actually learn from your choices. If you tell it once that Office Depot is supplies, it will suggest that same category the next time. You just confirm and you're done. I worked with the yoga studio owner who used to dread sorting receipts. She finally started categorizing digitally, and 1 month later she called me, almost in tears. Happy tears this time. She said, Brian, I just realized I can see exactly how much I spent on props versus cleaning supplies. I can actually plan my budget. That's the kind of clarity you get when you categorize consistently. Step 3, store it digitally. Once that receipt is captured and categorized, recycle the paper. You don't need it. The IRS has said over and over, digital copies are valid proof, as long as they're clear, accurate, and accessible. And let me tell you, QuickBooks makes them accessible. You can search by vendor, by amount, by date. Here's an example. I had a client who ran an event rental business. She rented tents, chairs, linens, tons of little transactions. Before QuickBooks, she had 3 filing cabinets full of paper. One summer, she had a leak in the basement. You can imagine what happened. Mold, water damage, whole folders ruined, thousands of dollars of deductions at risk. But after we set her up on QuickBooks, that changed. Now, if she needs to prove a tent rental from 3 years ago, she types tent rental and pulls up the exact PDF in seconds. No boxes, no panic, no mildew, just clarity. So ask yourself again, what would your tax season look like if you never had to touch a piece of paper? How much time would you save if every expense was already in place, already categorized, already attached? This is where confidence comes from. Confidence isn't just a feeling, it's the byproduct of preparation. When your books are digital, backed up and organized, you can walk into an IRS audit with your head high. You can sit across from the banker and know your numbers are solid. You can make decisions based on real data, not guesses scribbled on a napkin. And here's the part I love most. Going paperless doesn't just save you money. It buys you peace of mind. It clears the clutter from your desk, yes, but it also clears the clutter from your brain. You don't carry that nagging weight of, I really should deal with those receipts. You already did. You dealt with them in the moment. So here's your action step. 1, snap every receipt this week. 2, tag it right away. Use the 30-second rule. 3, attach it, then recycle it. That's it. 3 small steps. But together they form a habit that will protect your business, your sanity, and your sleep. And remember, this is not about perfection. You don't need a PhD in accounting to make this work. You just need to start, one receipt at a time, one category at a time, one moment of order in place of chaos. The Shoebox Monster doesn't stand a chance against consistency, and neither will that end-of-year panic when the books are already in shape.
And thus the shoebox monster is vanquished. No longer shall it rattle with crumpled proof or whisper dread from the shadows. Thou hast learned the threefold spell. Seize the slip, name its purpose, guard it in light. Walk forth now, apprentice, with satchel unburdened and spirit unchained, for thou art keeper of thine own order. Let others quake before their piles, but not thee. Thy scrolls stand ready, thy fortress secure, and may thy coffers ever prosper under the banner of clarity.
This has been episode 2 of the QuickBooks Wizard Podcast, Receipts Without the Shoebox. Today, we uncovered the monster hiding in plain sight, those stacks of paper that pile up, stress us out, and cost us money. But we also discovered the smell to banish it for good. Snap, categorize, and store. Simple, repeatable, powerful. Now it's your turn. This week I want you to practice the 3-step system. every receipt, every time. Snap it, categorize it, toss the paper. Thanks for listening. Until next time, may your records be neat, your stress be light, and may your books always balance.